Welcome to Corona Stories from Observing the Process. I'm your host, Alex Greenberg. And before we start, I'm hoping you can help me out by supporting the show. You can do this by going to my website, observingtheprocess.com. For just $5 a month or $50 for the year, you can become a monthly supporter. This show relies on listener support to stay on the air. So if you find this content valuable, I hope you will consider subscribing. You can find a link to subscribe in the description of this podcast. If you can't support monthly, no worries. You can help out by rating and reviewing on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, or discuss it on your own podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. If you are looking for information on how to protect yourself and stay safe from COVID-19, please get information from the CDC or the World Health Organization. Today on the show, I had Almira Mucic. Almira is a social media manager who is based in Shanghai but is from Montenegro. Please welcome Almira Mucic.
In the land of China, people hardly got nothing at all.
No possessions?
And in China, they never go to church.
No religion too?
Or do magic.
Well, it's easy if you try, Dick.
Hi, Alex.
Hey, Almira, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I've been in New York for quite a bit of time. You're in Montenegro, is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Where in Montenegro are you?
I am in the capital city that rarely anybody knows the name. It's called Podgorica.
Okay, that's actually, when I was looking at the weather or the time, like I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, but that is the name that first came up actually.
Oh yeah. That's the capital. So I was born and raised here in the capital, downtown capital, and I'm now in my mom's house.
Cool.
And we're just chilling here, me and her. Yeah.
Yeah. As we start, do you think you could give the audience a brief introduction of yourself, where you're based, what you do for work, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so normally I'm based in Shanghai and I'm a social media manager and copywriter. I actually finished my master's studies in Shanghai. And then after that, I stayed for like one more year to do a Chinese course, which I'm currently doing as well. And yeah, I've been living in Shanghai for 3.5 years now.
Nice.
It's weird saying this since I'm in Montenegro, so I'm not living in Shanghai at the moment. But
I know.
Hopefully
I
soon.
feel the same way. This is the longest I've ever been away from Shanghai. What about you?
Actually, no, because a lot of times I would go back to Montenegro for the summer because we have the coast here, the Adriatic Sea. So I'm spoiled like that. I'd like to have my summer in Montenegro, so I would go back and be with my family here for like 2 months. Yeah, but this time it's involuntary. It's not something that I planned because I actually did not plan to come back, especially in the winter. And but in the end, I'm actually very happy that I'm here. Better than being stranded somewhere.
Right.
Outside.
Cool. So let's jump back to the beginning of the story. I'm guessing somewhere around January. When and how did you first hear about the coronavirus?
Okay, so to be honest, I think somewhere in December or like one of the first articles that came out, I read it on WeChat somewhere, but normally like I didn't really care or didn't give it too much thought. And then in January, now I'm completely like messed up with dates and stuff, but let's say you can imagine, but let's say like mid-January,
sure.
I started reading articles. So I started reading articles on South China Morning Post about the coronavirus and everything. And I started noticing some things happen. Then on WeChat, I was also like reading a lot of articles about it. Um, and I was like, what the hell is happening? Like, this is not true. Um, then I wanted to buy like masks because, like we're like, okay, mask, we need to wear masks. And then I saw that like all the masks are sold out on Taobao and even in the stores. And I'm like, okay, well, I think this is the indicator that something is up.
Hmm.
But definitely, like in the beginning, I did not think that it was something serious. And then I checked Wuhan because I did not really know much about Wuhan. So I checked it. I was like, okay, it's fairly far away. And it was during the Chinese New Year, right?
Yeah, this was all
So,
going on like just before Chinese New Year.
yeah, exactly. So I actually decided to stay for Chinese New Year in Shanghai, which would be the first time doing this, and then travel after the New Year's Eve, right? So me and my friends, we took our passports to the Philippines embassy because we were going to Philippines, and fortunately, we need the visas for the Philippines, and our passports were in the embassy. And we couldn't get them for like 10 days because it was Chinese New Year. So this all started happening while our passports were locked in the embassy, and we were like stuck in Shanghai. We couldn't go anywhere. And I remember like every day I was reading the news, and it was like, okay, 6 people died, and then like 12 people died, and then like 24. Every day was doubling. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. And we could not like do anything about it. We couldn't get our passports and then just leave the country, But in the end, we did leave. Almost got stuck in China because we took our passports on the 31st, and then we changed our flights. So instead of going on the 3rd of February to Philippines, we left on 31st of January, and then like on the 1st of February, they stopped all the flights
Wow.
going to Philippines. And like I know, like we missed, like we were so lucky. We were so lucky that we got out. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you make it to the Philippines with some friends. Damn, I didn't even think about that type of situation where, people's passports are held in situations that are legal, but then all of a sudden these government offices can be slowed down or even shut down, and then passports can be in limbo. Like, that's crazy. And I'm glad that didn't happen to
I
you.
know, but exactly. I mean, this is like an unprecedented situation. I'm like, I cannot. Every day, I was like sitting with my friend in our apartment, and I was like, I cannot believe this is happening. Because while this was happening, like our passports are stuck in the embassy. Our friends who wanted to go to Bali, they like bought the tickets to go earlier. They're like, okay, guys, we're leaving. Bye. We cannot be here. And I'm like, oh my God, everybody's leaving. We're stuck. Like
Yeah,
every
because
day I
for
was
people who
reading the
don't know,
news.
you actually
Yeah.
don't need a visa to go to Bali. So you could just get the visa on arrival. So you could have just jetted out like quickly. Is that what he did, or?
Uh, so- it's my Montenegrin friends. I'm sorry, but we need visas for
Oh,
everything, unfortunately.
sorry.
But they
Americans are so
actually
spoiled.
had it before. Yeah, so sorry. So they actually had the visas. So they just like, you know what, like we're out.
Mm.
But we were just talking every day, like, guys, what is happening? Like, are you reading the news? Oh my God, what is this? Because it's like this kind when some similar things like this happen, right? You're never in the epicenter of what's going on. You're always somewhere else. So
Mm.
every time I read about like some natural disaster or whatever, it's always so far away from where I live that I don't fortunately pay too much attention or like be scared. But this time I was like we all who were in China, we were all in the middle of this the start of the pandemic, and we weren't aware, And every day I was waking up, I'm like, I cannot believe this is happening. I cannot believe this is happening.
And
But
you know what's
at the
even
same time,
crazier is
yeah,
that like you're in the epicenter of the pandemic, but it's also or epicenter of the situation. Like I like how you describe that, like we're always on the
yeah,
outside. But even in your case, when you're on
yeah.
the inside, it's like an invisible monster, which makes it so much even more weird and like such a different, unusual case.
I know, I know. And it's like also like being a foreigner, right? Like where, okay, so I'm a foreigner in China who cannot read like Chinese newspaper. Okay, I have like a beginner's level of Chinese, whatever, but I cannot read the newspaper about catastrophes or politics, doesn't matter. So where do I get my information from? I chose to take it from South China Morning Post, right? Because it's like for me, it was absurd to, and I don't really believe like the Western media outlets, wherever, like BBC, CNN, whatever. Like I cannot be in Shanghai and then read about what's happening in China or in Shanghai in like Western media, you know? So so I was just reading this every day, and me and my friend were, like I said before, stranded at the house. Like I would go out to get the groceries because I don't know if you were there in January. Were you there
No,
in
no, I
January?
was not.
You left before.
Yeah, I had
So
left in
like even
December. I
so
got
you
out
don't
so
really,
early.
oh my God, you missed all the fun. So yeah. So I wasn't super aware of what's going on because I wasn't sure like if everything was closed because of the Chinese New Year or because of the coronavirus, you know?
Hmm.
So for me I was kind of in the middle. I was trying to tell myself and get through the day, be like, no, 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 everything is fine. Like things are just closed because of the Chinese New Year. Everything is okay. Everything is okay. So I would like go hang out in my friend's house. We would have like a dinner or whatever. And then there was nobody on the street, like nobody in the buses. I wasn't taking the metro because I was like, I'm so scared. There's too many people. But I was taking the buses, and still there was barely anybody, and everybody was wearing masks. And it was just like a really like a post-apocalyptic kind of environment in Shanghai, which is super weird to see Shanghai with like no people in the streets.
Right. Well, what's interesting for you is you've never experienced Chinese New Year, if I'm correct. I think you said that before. So this is like
Yeah, exactly.
Chinese New Year is actually normally like that, where no one's around. It does already feel
Mhm,
kind of apocalyptic. It's weird. All the stores shut down.
mhm.
But then I guess with the added
Yeah,
level of the pandemic, I'm sure it was worse than I've normally experienced. And it's just crazy.
yeah, but at the same time, like you could order food online. So Ulama was working. Some
Mm.
of my favorite restaurants were closed, but it's okay. Like, but Ulama was working. You can order food. Then this like grocery app that we have. I don't know. Like you can buy fresh vegetables and fruits and meat. That one was also working. Except like our water delivery guy was like not working after that. We had to buy our own water, which is fine. But like it's not like we couldn't buy anything, and like it was open, like shops. Some of the shops were open. Those are like international shops where you can buy cheese and stuff. Those were also open. So it was fine. I wasn't like hungry. You could eat, but that's
Yeah, I
basically
hear
you can do.
Avocado
Like you can just
Lady
be at
was
home.
pretty open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you can just whatever, like sit at home, cook. Like I was cooking, which is something that I rarely was doing in Shanghai because I'm so busy. But you're oh my God, like the moment we got out of we were basically like the last plane flying out of Shanghai to
Right, right. Let's
Philippines.
jump to that. So now
Yeah,
you've made it to the
yeah,
Philippines and this is I guess
yeah,
early-ish February. What's your time like in
yeah.
Philippines? How's that experience?
So we got into the Philippines. They checked our temperatures. They had that camera that checks the body temperature and everything. And yeah, everything's fine. We were in Manila in like some um, accommodation, which was like this really big kind of like a residential fancy building, whatever. And every time we would get into the building, they would check our temperatures. And when I say like they would check everybody's temperature, not just us, right? But at the same time, like this was like, bear in mind, this was like in the beginning of the coronavirus, right? So everybody was associating coronavirus with Chinese people, right?
Right.
So with me and my two friends, like nobody cared. Like the only thing they saw was like three foreigners and that's it. Okay. So nobody was like, oh, where are you from? Are you from China? Oh my God, we're gonna, check you more than we would check anybody else. No, they just saw foreigners. They really didn't care. But I could see like people were acting differently towards Chinese people, But
Mm.
at the same time, like it's me and two of my friends there. Okay, we don't look Chinese, right? Obviously. Um, but like nobody cared just because we did not look Chinese, but we were as Chinese as anybody from China because we lived there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was, yeah, exactly. So this was like one of the things that I actually noticed while I was in Philippines. Well, actually, then afterwards, when I was traveling, when I was going back home, it was the same thing. Like nobody really, you know, asked me anything or like checked me more because I did not look Asian. And this is something that really breaks my heart in a way.
Yeah, I totally understand. And what's interesting is that the reverse is starting to happen now in China. Is that like I've shared some reports of what's going on in Guangzhou where local Chinese people, and this is not to say all people. Of course, we're talking about just
Yeah.
like a certain group of people that succumb to this racism, which is they're not allowing foreigners to come into certain restaurants, specifically black people in Guangzhou. This has just been the reported cases that
Yeah.
local Chinese people are discriminating against black people and foreigners in general. It's just not black people. And I think this kind of stuff happens because it happened just like you said in your case, starting in February, the
Yeah.
opposite way around. And I think it's not necessarily that people are racist. It's that like we're scared and people are going to do whatever is minutely possible in their head to maybe keep themselves safe. But I'm interested to hear more if you have anything to say about your experience and talk more about the Philippines.
So at the same time, at that time, it was like all of the memes that I was seeing online, all of the jokes were like very racist. They were like Chinese people this, Chinese people that, they're eating bats and whatnot, which is a complete BS. Like I should put this out there for everybody who's thinking they're eating bats. This is completely like a lie. So anyway, like all the memes and all the talks online were like very, very racist towards Chinese and Asian people. And then when the pandemic came, I mean, when the virus came, um, in the West world, when it came to Europe and when it came in United States, uh, the memes changed. Everything was like, haha, super funny, and nothing was racist anymore, which is also like, I think it's like double standard, you know, like, it's just, I don't know, it's just heartbreaking. And now this is, I can't believe, to be honest, like, I really cannot believe that we are in the midst of this pandemic because when so I was in Philippines, right, for 17 days. And
Mm.
then I was actually supposed to stay for 10 days and then go back. I did pack all of my stuff just in case that I have to go back um, to Montenegro, let's say, or wherever, just to like go out of Shanghai. So I packed my room, I packed my suitcase, and I was like, okay, if maybe I just come back and stay here, or maybe I come back, take my suitcase, go back home, whatever. When they canceled all the flights, they also canceled the flights to Shanghai. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not coming back. So I was like, what do I do? Do I continue traveling? Or do I go back home? My friends were continuing, and I was like, you know what, guys, like I can't do this anymore because I cannot travel and have fun. And then like the whole world is collapsing, like I need sense of security because I was really stressed out and, like my whole life changed and everything was uncertain. I was like, okay, guys, you know what? I really need peace of mind. Like I really need to feel genuinely safe and relax. And I was like, I'm just going to buy the ticket. I'm going to go back home. So I stayed for like 17 days in Philippines. And then I took flight from Philippines to Montenegro. And then I came back. It was, when did I come back? It was um, February 17th. February 17th. Yeah. I came back to Europe February 17th and people were like, oh, hi, Almira, what's up? Like, how is the situation in Shao? What about this virus? What's going on? What's happening? I'm like, oh no, guys, it's fine. Like, I didn't really want to talk about it, or scare anybody. I didn't want to scare anybody, I was like, it's there. We're here, we're fine, like it's okay. And even when these things were happening in Shanghai, like I did not want to stress out my family. I didn't speak to them about it. They didn't ask me anything. I was like, everything is fine, everything is cool, but it wasn't cool. I was really freaked out. So here, it lasted for like, I don't know, I was free, quote unquote. For I think 2 weeks.
I just want to ask you a question.
Then the things started.
So you get to Montenegro mid-February, like you said, like February 17th, and you had an interesting point where you said like, I mean, at that time in February, from February to mid-March, it was completely okay for Westerners to travel and like kind of go about their daily life. But you even said like you kind of had the foresight and you had the mentality like, yes, I could do that, but that's not responsible. It's not safe. I want stability. I want to be home. And that's actually a really important thing to remember, I think, because like I was in a similar situation, but I actually took somewhat of an opposite route. I was in New York, or I was in the United States from February to March as well. Or, I was in a situation where I was allowed to travel and stuff like that. And I did. I went around to like Vermont and California, like, because I was able to fly. And, like in the back of my head, though, I did know what you were feeling, which is like, this is kind of wrong. Like there are no travel restrictions right now. And everyone keep in mind listening, like at that time, there were no travel restrictions. Everything was a lot different in February. And this is when I was traveling. But then when it got to around the middle of early March and they the first thing they did is they shut down the flights to Europe. At that point, I was like, oh, wow, this is serious. This is crazy. Like I'm going to get back home to New York and just like hunker down and stay. But anyways, I just wanted to ask you more about that. I thought it was interesting that you brought that up, that even in February you kind of knew, and because like in reality, you could have been traveling around Europe to other bordering countries, just kind of be on vacation during this time. But I resonate with you when you say that like it's not even an enjoyable thing to do. In the back of your mind, you're like, like I'm not going to get the virus right now, but if I get hurt, if I get sick, like I'm taking up people's space at the hospitals. I think that's something important to note.
Yeah, totally. But like the virus coming, it's just like, I did not really think about, I thought like, okay, well, naively enough, I thought like, oh, this is going to just stay in China, it's not going to come here. And I was like, luckily this did not start in Europe because like we don't listen to our governments, we like do whatever we want. We won't be like, it will be a complete disaster. And then it comes here, like after 2 weeks that I've been in Europe, I've been really reading about like Italy is completely like they were having so many cases like every day. People are dying rapidly, like even worse than in China. And I was like, oh my God, like Italy really like one of the, I don't know, the richest countries in Europe or whatnot. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Then it's like, after that, it's France, and then now it's United States. But interestingly enough, Montenegro was like the last country in Europe to have the coronavirus, the first confirmed case of coronavirus. And we closed off our borders before we got the confirmed case. And I'm not sure, but we did, I think after the confirmed case or cases, we actually started a curfew. I don't know if you know what's a curfew. I think you do, or
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
not. I'm not
yeah.
sure, but it's basically,
You mentioned to me
yeah.
that
So
you were restricted by the curfew, and you're like helping your mother the other day. But you can go ahead and explain to people who might
yeah,
not know.
it's great. Yeah, so basically, our curfew works like this. You are not allowed to leave the house from 7 p.m. until 5 a.m. in the morning. So do whatever you want. I mean, not do whatever you want, because you cannot be in a public space uh, with somebody. So only alone you can be in a public space. So one person in a public space, like 2 meters apart. Um, and then the weekend, you're not allowed to go out of your house from like 1 in the afternoon until 5 in the morning, which is, oh my God, it's just so crazy, because it's like somebody's telling you you can't. Maybe, okay, let's say if there isn't a curfew, maybe you would just stay for like 2 days straight in your house. But when somebody tells you you can't leave, you're like,
Mm.
oh my God, I'm going to go completely nuts.
Yeah.
That's why when we finish our conversation, I'm going to take my neighbor's dog and I'm going to take it out for a walk, because if you have a dog, you can actually be outside for 15 minutes with a dog. So
Mm.
I'm going to do that, because I haven't left the house the whole day, and it's just this crazy feeling. But unfortunately, it's actually, these measures are actually necessary, because people are not so obedient here. Like, we are very proud, and we're like, oh, we don't like, we are so strong. Like, Corona cannot hurt us. It's like, come on, dude, like, chill, just stay at home, like, take care of your parents, because in the end, um, I'm not scared for me, like, if I get sick, it's going to be okay. I mean, 99% is going to be okay, but I'm scared of like contracting the virus and then giving it to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I being so, not to say obedient, I forgot the word, but why am I being so
Rebellious.
cautious? Sorry, why am I being so cautious?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is because of my mother, because I don't want to, she's a senior citizen, and I don't want to, like, get her sick. So that's why I think all the people should do the same, just be like cautious a little bit. But of course, it's so hard when it's like spring and it's beautiful outside, and people just want to like go and train and do yoga and whatnot, you know?
Yeah. So one of the questions that I always ask my guests is how different cultures
Yeah.
are handling the pandemic. And you definitely already started to shed
Yeah.
light on how Montenegro and the people in general, society, how people in general are handling the pandemic. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how the curfew evolved. Like, is it a mandatory thing by law? Are communities enforcing it like through, peer pressure, like pressuring each other, or
Mhm.
is there legal ramifications to this kind of stuff?
Yeah. So the curfew, like I already said, the curfew started pretty early into when we got the confirmed cases.
Mm.
And our also neighboring countries have similar measures. So they are changing it all the time. For
Mm.
example, now it's the Orthodox Easter. So it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And since it was the Easter, the government said, okay, so we'll let you like be out. Like, stores are gonna be open on Saturday until 6, and everybody can be out until 7. And we were like, yay, this is amazing. Like, because otherwise you would be in the house like the whole weekend without
Hmm.
going out, or like you can go out until 11 in the morning, which is like, come on.
Yeah.
11 in the morning is crazy. And then you're the whole day in the house. And what else I wanted to say? Oh yeah, and actually our government, I'm so surprised, but our government is handling this so good, and they started super early, and they've been doing a lot. I'm like really positively surprised, because they haven't been doing good things for a very, very long time. Hence why I need the visa for like every country in the world, because nobody in this country is doing their job. But when it comes to this pandemic and the coronavirus, or should I say Miss Rona, they have been doing like a really, really good job. I'm really surprised. And we've been getting a lot of donations, like people, like just like rich people from Montenegro, or like football players or sportsmen, whatever. They've been giving a lot of money. And to this day, we haven't had we only had like 4 deaths, unfortunately, but we had 4 deaths. We have like around 300 people who are infected, and everything is under control. We have like all the equipment. We have those machines. What are they called?
Ventilators.
Which you breathe the things, ventilators. They have like tons of ventilators. Everything is prepped. They also like prepped this huge sports center. They put the ventilators there, and it's like one of the quarantines or whatever, but I guess it's still empty because there is no need. But if unfortunately, God forbid, there is need for something, like the government and the state is ready, and this just really makes me happy. And since we are like this really small country, we really did not have a shortage of anything. Like in the beginning, when there was like a first wave of like people manically buying flour and like pasta and whatever, we never had a shortage of that. The only thing we had a shortage of were masks, but that was like the whole world.
Right.
But when it comes to like essentials like food or anything, we did not have any shortage. Then also for like alcohol and the sanitizing equipment or whatever, we also had it all the time. So we were really set. Like I'm really, really happy because I know this, because like, for example, my sister is in London. She doesn't have like 70% alcohol in her house or anything for that matter, because it's all sold out. She cannot get it, and she lives in London, and Montenegro is considered to be like a third world country and whatever. But we are handling things so much better than a lot of these like really rich Western countries.
Super interesting. It's I'm super glad to hear that for you. This sounds like one of the better stories I've heard from any country. So that's great.
Really?
Yeah, it's surprising. I mean, in America, we are not doing well. I think one thing that puts you in an advantage is just this, like how many people are in Montenegro? What's your population? Roughly. You don't have to know exact or even.
Well, that's another thing. We're like less than 700,000 people.
Less than 700,000 people. So that is going to make the difference. We have 329 million people in America. We have 8 million alone in New York. So we have like we have like 10 Montenegros just in New York City. So I think that's obviously going to make the difference as to why some countries are going to be able to handle it better than others. But that just gets me thinking, it's kind of insane that we have these cities that have such a ridiculously high number of people. This is just opinion talk, but yeah, having these extremely high dense number of people living together is going to make it harder. But to keep the focus on you, I want to talk a little bit more about your situation. And so my other question that I always ask my guests is your thoughts on the media and how they're handling the situation in relation to mental health in general, because something I feel that is a big part of this whole situation, coronavirus, is there's one element to physical tragedy we see with death and people getting sick, but there's the also mental health issue where people are not able to work, people are stuck at home, and it's really affecting everyone. Everyone in this world is directly affected by it through mental health. So I was wondering if you could share your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So to go back to when I first started dealing with this pandemic or the virus, when I was in Shanghai, like every morning, I already told you, I would wake up and I would read like every single article on a South China Morning Post every day. And I was like, okay, like I need to, okay, sure. Like I need to relax. Okay. Just read it like don't get upset, don't like do anything, like just chill, like be chill. And I was like, of all of my friends, I was the one who was like the most chill for like a week. And then on the 8th day, I had like a nervous breakdown. I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. Oh my God, but luckily I had friends there who would like level me up. If I like go too crazy, they would like put me down. Or like if they go crazy, I calm them down. So I think the most important thing is to like have somebody close to you that is there, that with whom you can talk, and he can or she can make you feel better, right? I'm since back then I was reading the news all the time, and it was really, really affecting my my mental health. I stopped doing that when I was in Philippines, but I was on my vacation under a palm tree. I'm not going to read about this. Maybe
Yeah.
a little bit, but then I'm like, don't like, no, I'm going to come back to the real world after this. Like, like now I'm going to drink my coconut. And then I come back here and every single thing is coronavirus. We have like special TV shows, which I think you also do right now, or like special segments of the news, which is only coronavirus. I mean,
I don't think I've ever seen the news that isn't
news.
coronavirus. Everything, like there's no news that isn't coronavirus.
Exactly. And I'm like, it's just, I remember one time I yelled at my sister. I literally yelled at her when she was like, started to talk to me about coronavirus before like this started happening in Europe. I was like, listen to me. Like, don't you ever talk about this with me again, because I cannot take it anymore. It's everywhere. Coronavirus, like, stop talking about this. But unfortunately, it came into our lives here in Europe and the rest of the world. So we had to talk about this because it's affecting our lives. And unfortunately, I think like some of my friends who like still have jobs, they're like, oh my God, I have to work. But I'm like, just be happy that you have work, because a lot of people lost their jobs and you have work, which means that you have money, which means that you can pay your rent, you can buy your food, you can do whatever, like now I am on a scholarship and I'm still getting my scholarship from this Chinese language program that I'm doing Shanghai Jiaotong University. And it was like a question if it's going to start or not. And it actually started. So I'm having like 3 or 4 hours of Chinese classes every day. And it's actually keeping me very sane. Like I have something to do. I finish it in the morning. And then afterwards I like go grocery shopping, like I get to do stuff like every day, even though I'm only allowed to be out until 7. And of course, like I can't see my friends and stuff because we're still like doing the social distancing things. But I think like people should really, if they have a job, they should like appreciate it and they should be happy for having a job. And just like keeping yourself entertained or keeping yourself busy doing whatever is like really going to help with your mental health. But it's inevitable that you will have like breakdowns and be like, because you feel like you can't do stuff. I don't know if in New York you have a curfew. You don't, right? You can just roam freely.
It's super sad actually. I think there is like almost nothing by law that permits you, like just yesterday they're now forcing people to wear masks, which is good, I think, if you go into stores, but there are no regulations whatsoever about like going to the grocery store anytime, going out for a walk. Like parks are closed, but I've seen people just kind of open the fence and go in and chill, and there is zero legal enforcement that is going on to prevent people from being outside, which is sad. I think there needs to be strong rules put in place in order to make people listen, just like you're doing in Montenegro. Like it sucks, but it's going to go away faster.
Yeah, and it sucks and it's boring and it's like excruciating and it's just crazy, painful, but at the same time I guess it's necessary,
Mm-hmm.
Like it is necessary. And we need to protect our parents. We need to protect our elderly. Luckily, my mom doesn't speak English, so she won't know that I called her an elderly, but she is. She's a senior citizen, and we need to protect them. And unfortunately, like, not a lot of people, like a lot of senior citizens, have like younger people to help them. So I actually volunteered to my neighbors, but they're proud. They would don't want to let me, but I'm like, don't go out. Like, I will go to the grocery store, buy the things for you. They're like, oh, it's fine, it's okay, I don't need. But if there's anything that, like, any of us individually can do to help somebody in need, like our elderlies mostly, they should try to do it. Yeah.
That's great. And one thing that you mentioned during your whole talk is
Yeah.
how you um kind of just lost my train of thought. But I'm going to go to my next question, which is
Yeah.
like what kind of goes on for the future for you? What is your plans for the future? Like, oh no, what my thought was that, your
Yeah.
my question was at the beginning was mental health and not having your
Yeah.
job. And obviously you kind of proved my theory, which was that it's
Yeah.
it's not a groundbreaking theory by any means, but like you weren't doing so well, or I'm not doing so well without a full-time job. But now that you've gotten the Chinese structure back into your life, and
Yeah.
like, structure really does help build a foundation for mental health. And I just wanted to say, like, that's good that you're on that. And I guess my next question is going to be about the future. You still are connected
Yeah.
to Shanghai. Like, are you planning to go back? What is your plan for the future? What do you think the future will hold?
I still have my apartment in Shanghai. All of the things that I own are in Shanghai, including my computer. Basically, I'm like a coronavirus refugee. When I came here, I came directly from Philippines in like February with my luggage full of summer clothes. Like, I did not have any clothes here, like nothing. I had to buy everything, which doesn't matter, because I had a roof over my head. I had
Mm,
food. I had my family. I was safe. I don't really care. But at the same time, like, all of the things that I have are in Shanghai. Um, so I'm just waiting for the Chinese government to open the border so I can come back. When is that going to happen? I don't know. For initially, like, I thought I was going to be in Montenegro for like until like March, which was 2 weeks. Because I came back on this, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay until March. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to stay until April. Oh no. And then it was like about mid-April, they closed or whatever, they closed the borders. And that's when that was like so hard for me. I was so sad. I was crying the whole day. It's like, I cannot believe I cannot come back, whatever. So I'm just hoping they open the borders. My guess right now is like in June.
mm,
Then in June, maybe I can come back, or maybe like July when it's like really, really hot. And then the humidity and the super hot weather can hopefully kill Miss Rona in Shanghai. So I can come back and, like, resume my life. And I had my stability there. I had my work. I had um, my Chinese course, like, I had my routine, every day I knew what I was going to do. I had my voguing classes, my dance classes that I go to, which I miss so much. Like, I had like, everybody has, like, this is in the place you live, you have your own routine, you have
mhm.
everything, that you love and do. And, I love living in China. I love living in Shanghai. Me and my friends are there, like, it's it's amazing. It. I mean, you also live there,
Yep.
like, I just want to, I mean, it's a stretch, but I just want to, like, go back to my life in Shanghai, resume my life, but it's not going to be the same. What's going to happen? I don't know. I'm not going to bust my head over it and be like, oh, our lives are going to change, the new normal or whatnot. It's just like, we go step by step. We're going to see what's going to happen. I don't know, but at the same time, like, I cannot wait to come back, resume my life, start working, start going to my dancing classes, and just like Hopefully go back to normal, if what normal will be at that time. I don't know.
Almira, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I, as well, cannot wait to get back to Shanghai. I'm sure we'll get there very, very shortly, hopefully. And we'll probably get there at around the same time, because as soon as they open up, I'm going back as well.
Me too. Like, I'm waiting for them borders to open, because I'm coming. I'm going to come running.
Okay, Almira.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time. Let's talk later. Have a good one. Stay safe.
Bye-bye, Alex.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Zaijian.
Zaijian. Boom. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this podcast valuable, there are many ways you can support it. The best way is by going to my website, observingtheprocess.com. For just $5 a month or $50 for the year, you can become a monthly supporter. This show relies on listener support to stay on the air. So if you find this content valuable, I hope you will consider subscribing. You can find a link to subscribe in the description of this podcast. If you can't support monthly, no worries. You can help out by rating and reviewing on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. You can share it with your friends, you can blog about it, or discuss it on your own podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you for supporting the show. Listeners like you make it possible. If you are looking for information on how to protect yourself and stay safe from COVID-19, please get information from the CDC or the World Health Organization. Also, if you enjoyed the intro and outro music, it was made by my brother, Danny Greenberg. You can go and check out his beats on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or SoundCloud. He goes by the name Estoric, E-S-T-O-R-I-C. All right, that's it for now.